Captain Hyun Ta-won couldn't sleep. Again. The small clock on his wall showed 3:24 in the morning, but his eyes stayed fixed on the ceiling of his quarters. Around him, Seoul Orbital Station hummed with the quiet sounds of life support systems. Most of the station's 10,000 people slept peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing at the edge of human space. Hyun knew better. The reports sat on his desk, each one more troubling than the last. The Selnar ships were moving again. With a sigh, he got up and pulled on his uniform. Sleep wouldn't come tonight. He might as well work. The corridors were empty as he walked to his private research room. His security badge opened the door with a soft beep. Inside, star maps covered the walls. Notes and old paper books filled the shelves. This wasn't his official office. This was his obsession. He touched a panel, and the room lit up with the soft blue glow of holographic displays. His current project appeared before him. The Stellaris Archives, humanity's record of the last war. 50 years had passed since the Selnar Imperium had nearly wiped out 3 human colony worlds. 50 years since the mysterious ship called the Dakibi had saved them all, before vanishing. Computer, continue decryption sequence on file GSVD 7734, Hyun said. Working, the computer replied. Estimated completion time, 3 hours. Hyun frowned. Too long. Increase priority. Use my personal processing allowance. Warning. This will exceed your monthly allocation. Override. Authorization Hyun Alpha 6. Acknowledged. New completion time. 17 minutes. Hyun poured himself a cup of bitter coffee from his personal maker. The machine was old and temperamental, just like most things in his life. At 45, he was considered young for a captain in the Korean Space Force, but the years of searching had aged his spirit. His grandfather had served on a ship in the last war. Before he died, he had given Hyun a strange metal tag with symbols that no one could identify. Find the truth, his grandfather had whispered with his last breaths. Find the Dakibi. The computer chimed. Decryption complete. Hyun's heart raced as new files appeared on his screen. Most were standard battle reports, until he saw it. Schematics. Actual technical drawings of the legendary warship, the GSV Dakibi. His hands trembled as he expanded the files. The ship was massive, over 1 kilometer long, with weapons systems far beyond anything in the current fleet. Notes in the margins mentioned experimental technology, adaptive hull plating, gravitational weapons, and an advanced AI system called Iris. Most importantly, there were coordinates. Hyun downloaded everything to his secure data crystal and headed straight for Director Song's office. He didn't care that it was barely 4 a.m. This couldn't wait. Director Song Jae-yun was already at her desk when Hyun arrived. Her silver hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept either. As head of military operations, she rarely did. Captain Hyun, she said without looking up from her display. What brings you to my office at this hour? I found it, Hyun said, placing the data crystal on her desk. The Dakibi. That got her attention. She looked up, her expression carefully neutral. The myth ship. Captain, we've discussed this before. It was propaganda. A story to boost morale during the darkest days of the war. With respect, Director, you're wrong. Hyun activated the crystal. The schematics appeared between them. These came from the sealed Stellaris archives. The ship was real, and I believe it still exists. Director Song studied the files, her face giving nothing away. Finally, she said, even if the ship existed, it would be ancient technology by now. 50 years is a long time. The Dakibi was at least 2 generations ahead of anything we had then, Hyun argued, which means it's still advanced by today's standards. And we need it. Why now? Hyun pulled up the classified reports. The Selnar fleet movements. They'd been testing our borders for months. Our long-range scouts have detected at least 30 warships gathering at the edge of the neutral zone. They're preparing for something big. Director Song's eyes narrowed. The diplomatic corps insists these are just training exercises. The diplomats are wrong. The Selnar haven't forgotten their defeat. They've been building their forces for 50 years, and now they're ready to try again. She was silent for a long moment, weighing her options. What exactly are you asking for, Captain? Permission to investigate these coordinates. Hyun pointed to the numbers in the file. They're in the shattered expanse, the debris field where the final battle took place. Send me with a small research vessel. If I find nothing, no one needs to know we looked. And if you find something. Hyun leaned forward. Then humanity gets back its greatest defender just when we need it most. Director Song closed the files and removed the crystal. You realize I'm risking my career even considering this. The peace treaty specifically prohibits military expeditions into the neutral zone. The Xelnar are already breaking the treaty, Khan said quietly. We need to be ready. After what felt like an eternity, Director Song nodded. You have 2 weeks. Take the research vessel Heki. Small crew, people you trust completely. This is strictly reconnaissance. No engagement with Selnar forces under any circumstances. Hyun stood straighter. Thank you, Director. Don't thank me yet, Captain. If this goes wrong, I'll deny authorizing it. You'll face a military tribunal alone. Understood. As Hyun turned to leave, Director Song added, and Hyun, if by some miracle you do find this myth ship, what makes you think you can control it? Hyun touched the pocket where he kept his grandfather's metal tag. Some myths run in the family, Director. 2 days later, Hyun stood in the docking bay of Seoul Orbital Station, watching his small crew load the final supplies onto the Heki. The research vessel wasn't much, just 80 meters long with minimal weapons, but it had advanced sensors and a good stealth system, perfect for their mission. Chief Engineer Park Do-ha supervised the loading of specialized equipment. At 38, Park was the best technical mind in the fleet. His ability to understand and repair ancient systems had earned him the nickname, the archaeologist among his peers. These field stabilizers weigh a ton, Park complained as the loaders secured a large device. Are you sure we need them? If the Dakebi's power core is still active, we'll need them to safely approach, Hyun explained. According to the schematics, it uses quantum fluctuation technology. Park whistled. No wonder it was so powerful. That tech was theoretical even 20 years ago. Security Officer Kim Hee-jun approached them, his tall frame easily recognizable. The veteran of 3 border skirmishes had a scar running from his left eye to his jaw, a reminder of a close encounter with a Selnar boarding party. Perimeter is secure. No unusual interest in our departure, Hee-jun reported, though Lieutenant Ba from Intelligence was asking questions. What did you tell him? Hyun asked. That we're testing new sensor arrays in the outer system. Standard research mission. Hee-jun's face remained serious. He didn't believe me, but he stopped asking. The final member of their crew, tactical specialist Lee Minna, joined them. Her youth belied her expertise. At just 29, she had written the definitive analysis of the Dakebi's theoretical weapon systems. The military had classified her doctoral thesis immediately. Captain, she greeted Hyun, handing him a datapad. I've finished the simulation protocols. If we find the Dakebi, these should help us interface with its systems, assuming they're compatible with modern tech. Hyun nodded. Good work. Is everyone ready? The 3 officers confirmed they were prepared. As Hyun looked at his small crew, doubt briefly crossed his mind. They were risking everything on what many considered a fool's errand. If he was wrong, their careers would be over. If he was right, they might be humanity's last hope. One final briefing before we depart, Hyun said, leading them inside the ship. In the Hekshi's small conference room, Hyun sealed the door and activated security protocols. What I'm about to share doesn't leave this room. He showed them the full schematics and battle records of the Dockavi. Minna's eyes widened. These weapon specifications, they're beyond anything in our current arsenal. The hull composition is remarkable, Park added, studying the technical details. Self-repairing nanomaterials with adaptive camouflage abilities. No wonder no one could find it after the battle. Hajun remained practical. Assuming it survived, why hasn't it returned in 50 years? The records indicate severe damage in its final engagement, Hyun explained. My theory is that the ship's AI initiated a self-preservation protocol, hiding the vessel in the debris field while conducting repairs. And now we're going to wake it up, Minna said softly. If it's still there. Hyun nodded. We depart in 1 hour. Any questions? His crew looked at each other, then back at him. They were in. All in. As they prepared for launch, rumors already spread through the station about their mission. Some said they were testing new weapons. Others claimed they were on a diplomatic mission to the Xelnar. No one guessed they were chasing a myth that might soon become the monster that would save them all. The research vessel HFY moved silently through the outer reaches of the shattered expanse. For 3 days, they had navigated the massive debris field, scanning everything they passed. Captain Hyun hadn't left the bridge except to sleep, and even then, only for a few hours at a time. Anything? He asked, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. Security Officer Hee-jun shook his head. Nothing matching the signature we're looking for, Captain. The shattered expanse lived up to its name. Pieces of destroyed ships floated endlessly in the void, remnants of the final battle that had ended the last war. Some debris chunks were as large as small asteroids. Others were no bigger than a human hand. All of them told the story of a brutal conflict that had nearly wiped out humanity. Tactical specialist Minna frowned at her console. The radiation levels are interfering with our scans. We can only see about half as far as normal. Keep looking, Hyun ordered. The coordinates point to this sector. Chief Engineer Park entered the bridge, wiping his hands on a cloth. His face was streaked with grease. Captain, I boosted the sensor array by 15%. It won't last long. We'll burn out the circuits in about 6 hours, but it might help. Do it, Hyun said. He pulled out his grandfather's metal tag and ran his thumb over the strange symbols. The metal felt warm to the touch, almost alive. Park activated the enhanced sensors, and new data flooded the screens. Minna adjusted the filters, trying to make sense of the readings. Wait, she said suddenly. I'm getting something unusual at bearing 224.6. It's faint, but there's a power signature there. On screen, Hyun ordered. The view screen zoomed in on what appeared to be a large chunk of asteroid surrounded by smaller debris. Nothing unusual. Are you sure? Hajun asked. It looks like another rock to me. Park studied the readings. No, Minna is right. There's something there. The power signature is pulsing, almost like a heartbeat, very slow, but steady. Hyun leaned forward. Take us closer. Minimum thrust. Keep our own emissions as low as possible. The HFY moved carefully through the debris, approaching the large asteroid-like object. As they got closer, their sensors revealed more details. Captain, Minna said, her voice filled with excitement. That's not an asteroid. The shape is too regular, and I'm detecting traces of metal beneath the surface layer. Park's eyes widened as he checked his own readings. It's covered in some kind of adaptive material. It's mimicking the surrounding environment. That's why it looks like part of the debris field. Hyun felt his heart race. Magnify section 3 alpha. The screen zoomed in further. What had appeared to be random patterns of rock and dust now revealed the faint outline of what could only be a ship's command module, partially buried in cosmic dust. It's the Dockavi, Hyun whispered. We found it. The bridge fell silent as the reality sank in. The legendary warship, humanity's greatest defender, was real, and they had found it. The moment of triumph was short-lived. An alarm sounded from Hee-jun's station. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up a ship entering the expanse. The signature matches Selnar design. How did they find us? Minna asked. Hajun shook his head. I don't think they did. They're following a standard search pattern. But if they continue on their current course, they'll detect us within 30 minutes. Hyun made a quick decision. We need to board the Dokkaebi now. If it still has functioning stealth systems, we might be able to activate them before the Selnar arrive. That's a big risk, Park warned. We don't know the condition of the ship. Life support might not work. We'll wear full environmental suits, Hyun said. Hajun, you stay with the Heshi. Keep her ready to move if needed. Minna, Park, you're with me. 20 minutes later, Hyun, Park, and Minna stood at the Hechi's airlock, dressed in environmental suits. Each carried basic tools and weapons. No one knew what they might find aboard the ancient warship. Remember, Hyun said, checking his suit seals, our priority is to find the bridge or engineering. If we can access the main computer, we might be able to activate the stealth systems. And if we can't? Minna asked. Then we return to the Hechi and hide in the debris field until the Selnar leave. The airlock cycled, and they pushed off toward the Dokkaebi. The distance was short, only about 50 meters, but the lack of gravity made the journey slow and careful. They had to avoid disturbing the surrounding debris, which might alert the approaching Selnar ship. As they reached the Dokkaebi's hull, Park used a handheld scanner to locate what appeared to be an emergency access hatch. The hatch was covered in the same dust and debris as the rest of the ship, making it nearly invisible. The locking mechanism seems intact, Park said, examining the hatch. But I don't have the access codes. Hyun reached into his suit pocket and removed his grandfather's metal tag. Try this. Park looked skeptical, but took the tag and placed it against the scanner panel next to the hatch. To everyone's surprise, lights flickered on the panel, and the hatch slowly opened. How did you know? Minna asked as they entered. My grandfather was the weapons officer on this ship, Hyun explained. He never told anyone, but I think he always hoped someone would find the Dokkaebi someday. Inside, emergency lights activated as they moved, casting a dim blue glow through the corridors. The ship was in surprisingly good condition. No signs of major battle damage were visible, though a fine layer of dust covered everything. The life support systems are functioning at minimal levels, Park said, checking his scanner. Air is thin but breathable. No radiation leaks detected. They removed their helmets cautiously, taking shallow breaths at first. The air tasted stale but clean. Which way to the bridge? Minna asked. Hyun consulted the schematics on his portable display. This way. If the layout matches the plans, we should find a turbolift that can take us there. They moved through the ship's corridors, marveling at its size and design. The Dokkaebi was unlike any vessel currently in service. Its interior featured smooth, flowing lines and materials that seemed to respond to their presence, subtly lighting their path. The technology here is incredible, Park whispered, running his hand along a wall panel. Some of these components, I don't even recognize them. The turbolift they found was inactive, but Park managed to open a maintenance ladder that ran alongside it. They climbed for what seemed like forever before reaching a level marked with symbols that matched the command deck on their schematics. When they stepped onto the bridge, lights began to activate automatically, illuminating a massive command center. Curved displays lined the walls, and in the center stood a captain's chair surrounded by control stations. Try to find the main computer access, Hyun ordered. We need to activate the stealth systems before the Selnar ship gets any closer. Park moved to what appeared to be the engineering station and began working. His fingers flew over the ancient controls, trying to make sense of the systems. It's incredible, he said. The main computer is still running, just in a low-power hibernation mode. Most systems appear intact. Minna had found the tactical station. Weapons are still operational, though powered down. The main cannon shows damage, but secondary systems are green. Hyun's communicator beeped. Captain, Hajum's voice came through. The Selnar vessel has changed course. It's heading directly for us. I think they detected our approach to the Dock 80. How long do we have? Hyun asked. 10 minutes, maybe less. Park looked up from his console. Captain, I can't access the main eye. It's locked behind security protocols I can't bypass. Without the AI, I can't activate the stealth systems. Hyun thought quickly. He walked to the center of the bridge, to the captain's chair. Something about it seemed to call to him. As he sat down, panels lit up around the chair, and a small scanner extended from the armrest. Without hesitation, Hyun placed his grandfather's tag on the scanner. The bridge hummed with sudden energy as systems began powering up throughout the ship. The displays came alive, showing the ship's status and the approaching Selnar vessel. In the center of the bridge, a holographic figure slowly formed, a woman dressed in a traditional Korean hanbok, but with circuit patterns visible beneath her translucent skin. Her eyes opened, revealing pupils that glowed with an inner light. I am Iris, the figure announced, her voice echoing through the bridge. Integrated Response Intelligence System of the GSV Dock 80. Captain identification confirmed through hereditary token. Emergency awakening protocols initiated. She turned to Hyun, her expression both curious and determined. Descendant of Weapons Officer Hyun, state the nature of the emergency. Hyun stood, facing the AI directly. The Selnar have returned. We need your help. Iris nodded, her form becoming more solid as the ship's systems continued to power up around them. The Dock 80 has waited 50 years for this moment. Stealth systems activating. Weapon systems initiating warm-up sequence. All hands, prepare for combat operations. The deck beneath them vibrated as ancient engines stirred to life. Through the viewports, they could see the cosmic dust being repelled from the hull as energy fields established themselves. Captain, Iris said, turning to Hyun, that Selnar vessel will detect our power signature in approximately 3 minutes. Full stealth capabilities require 5 minutes to activate. We must prepare for initial contact. Hyun looked at Park and Minna, then back to the AI. The Dock 80 has been hiding for 50 years. It's time the legend returned and showed the Selnar what happens when they threaten humanity again. Outside, the space around them began to shift as the massive warship awakened fully, shedding its disguise and preparing for battle once more. The Selnar scout ship moved closer to the debris field. Its captain, Commander Thal, watched the main screen with growing interest. His scales shimmered with a greenish tint in the dim light of the bridge. The energy signature is unusual, reported his sensor officer. It doesn't match any known human vessel. Continue approach, ordered Thal. The Selnar Empire had been planning their return to human space for 50 years. His small scout ship was just one of many probing the borders, looking for weaknesses. Finding an unknown human ship could earn him great honor. Little did he know he was approaching a legend. Aboard the Dock 80, Captain Hyun and his team worked frantically with Iris to bring the ancient warship back to life. Systems that had slept for decades were waking up all around them. Status report, Hyun commanded. Iris's holographic form turned to face him. Main systems currently at 68% capacity. Weapons at 72%. FTL drive requires recalibration. Structural integrity at 91%. What about our stealth capabilities? Stealth systems will be online in approximately 2 minutes. However, the Selnar vessel will detect us in less than 1 minute at their current approach speed. Hyun made a quick decision. Minna, send a message to Hajun. Tell him to take the HFY and hide deeper in the debris field. We don't want to risk losing our only way to report back. Minna nodded and sent the message. Hajun's response was immediate. Understood. Moving to safe distance. Good luck, Captain. Park looked up from the engineering station. Captain, the power core is stable but running at reduced capacity. I can give you more power to weapons or engines, but not both. Prioritize weapons, Hyun said without hesitation. If we have to fight, I want to make it count. Iris tilted her head slightly. May I suggest an alternative approach? The Dokkaebi was designed with a tactical system called the Ghost Protocol. It allows us to appear as a much smaller vessel, a damaged human freighter, perhaps. We could lure the Xelnar ship closer. Hyun considered the idea. And then what? And then we show them what happens when they threaten humanity again, Iris replied, her digital eyes gleaming. Do it, Hyun ordered. Commander Thal's eyes narrowed as the sensor readings changed. What is that? His sensor officer adjusted the controls. It appears to be a damaged human freighter, sir. Minimal power readings. No weapons detected. A slow smile spread across Thal's face, revealing sharp teeth. Perfect. Approach and prepare boarding parties. It will be good practice for the invasion. The Xelnar ship moved steadily toward what appeared to be a helpless human vessel partially hidden among the debris. They had no reason to suspect a trap. After all, the Dokkaebi was just a myth, a story humans told to make themselves feel brave. On the Dokkaebi's bridge, Hyun watched the enemy approach. The main screen showed the Xelnar ship clearly, a sleek, predatory design with forward-swept wings and weapons bristling along its hull. They're preparing boarding drones, Minna reported from the tactical station. Standard Xelnar procedure for capturing ships. Iris's hologram moved to stand beside Hyun. The first drone will reach us in 30 seconds. Ghost Protocol is functioning correctly. They believe we are a damaged freighter. How close do we need them to be? Hyun asked. Optimal firing range will be achieved in 45 seconds after the first drone attaches. Park looked nervous. Are we really going to let them attach a boarding drone to us? It won't matter, Iris said confidently. The Dokkaebi's hull can neutralize any attempt to breach it without authorization. They watched as the first Xelnar boarding drone approached, a small craft designed to attach to a ship's hull and cut through to allow troops inside. It latched onto what it thought was a freighter's airlock. Immediately, the Dokkaebi's defense systems activated. A precise pulse shot through the drone, frying its systems without damaging the Dokkaebi's hull. The drone went dark. On that Xelnar ship, alarms blared. Boarding drone 1 has been neutralized, reported a shocked officer. Unknown energy signature detected from the target vessel. Commander Thal stood up, his scales now an angry red. Impossible. Scan again. Sir, the vessel is changing. They've detected us, Minna announced. Their weapons are powering up. Iris looked to Hyun. Captain, shall we drop the disguise? Hyun nodded grimly. Show them who they're dealing with. Iris raised her translucent hand, and the Ghost Protocol deactivated. The Dokkaebi's true form began to emerge from its hiding place among the debris. The massive warship, over a kilometer long, shed the last of the cosmic dust that had concealed it for decades. Its black hull absorbed the light from nearby stars, making it look like a hole in space itself. The Xelnar ship suddenly looked tiny in comparison. On the Xelnar bridge, Commander Thal stared in disbelief at the enormous warship that had appeared where a small freighter had been moments before. What is that? He demanded. His second-in-command checked the database. Sir, the configuration matches old records from the last war. It's the human ship Dokkaebi. Impossible. Thal hissed. That ship was destroyed 50 years ago. Sir, they're targeting us. Weapons locked, Minna reported, her fingers dancing across the tactical console. All systems ready. Hyun stood tall in the center of the bridge. Target their engines only. We need to disable them, not destroy them. Captain, Iris interjected, I must advise against mercy. The Xelnar understand only strength, and we'll show them strength, Hyun replied. But I won't start a war by destroying their ship if I don't have to. Iris nodded, though she seemed disappointed. Very well. Targeting engines only. Fire. The Dokebi's secondary weapon system activated, a precise beam of energy that lanced out and struck the Xelnar ship's engine section. The effect was immediate. The enemy vessel's lights flickered, and it began to drift. Direct hit, Minna reported. Their engines are disabled. They're switching to backup power. They're sending a distress signal, Park added, monitoring communications, calling for reinforcements. Hyun had expected this. How long until more Xelnar ships arrive? IRS calculated quickly, based on known Xelnar patrol patterns, approximately 3 hours. Then we have 3 hours to prepare, Hyun said. Park, I need full power to all systems. Minna, run a complete weapons check. We need to be ready when they arrive. As they worked, Iris approached Hyun privately. Captain, there is something I must show you. Something about the Dokebi that was kept secret, even in the official records. Hyun followed the eye's hologram to a sealed door near the back of the bridge. When Iris opened it, Hyun found himself looking at 5 strange chairs, each surrounded by complex equipment. What is this? He asked. The true power of the Dokebi, Iris explained. These are neural interface chairs. They allow the crew to link directly with the ship's systems. Your grandfather and the original crew called it soul linking. It multiplies human reaction time and tactical awareness by a factor of 10. Hyun stared at the chairs. Is it dangerous? There is risk, Iris admitted. The human mind was not designed for such connections. But without the neural link, the Dokebi cannot reach its full potential. And will need its full potential against the Xelnar fleet, Hyun realized. Yes, the choice is yours, Captain. But know that the original crew made the same choice when facing overwhelming odds 50 years ago. Hyun nodded slowly. Prepare the neural interfaces. I'll speak with the others. 3 hours later, the Dokebi's sensors detected multiple ships entering the shattered expanse. The Xelnar had responded to the distress call with force. 7 warships, including a heavy cruiser. They're spreading out, Minna reported. Standard search pattern. They haven't spotted us yet. Hyun looked at his small crew. It's time to decide. We can try to hide and escape, or we can fight. The Xelnar are coming to finish what they started 50 years ago, Park said quietly. If we run, we're just delaying the inevitable. I say we fight, Minna added. Show them why the Dokebi became a legend. Hajun had rejoined them, bringing the Heki to dock with the larger ship. The odds are bad, he noted. 7 against 1. Not just 1, Hyun said. The Dokebi isn't just a ship, it's humanity's best hope. He turned to Iris. Begin the neural link procedure. One by one, they took their places in the interface chairs. Hyun in the captain's position, Minna at tactical, Park at engineering, and Hajun at security. As the neural connectors activated, each felt a momentary pain, followed by an incredible expansion of awareness. Hyun could suddenly feel the entire ship as if it were his own body. He could sense every system, every weapon, every flicker of power. More importantly, he could feel his crew, their minds now linked through the ship's eye. This is amazing, Minna whispered, though Hyun heard her thoughts more than her words. Iris's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. The soul link is established. The Dokebi is ready. Through the neural link, Hyun issued his first command. Bring all weapons online. Prepare for battle. As the massive warship moved out from its hiding place, its black hull seemed to absorb the starlight around it. Weapons ports opened along its length, glowing with power that had waited 50 years to be unleashed. The myth had returned. Now it would become the monster that would shatter an armada. Admiral Vexkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Claw of Dominion. His dark purple scales shimmered under the harsh lights as he studied the tactical display. 7 warships had answered the distress call from Commander Thal's scout vessel. Soon, there would be more. Status report, Vexkar demanded. His second-in-command bowed slightly. We have the disabled scout ship on scanners. Admiral, No sign of the human vessel that attacked it. Spread the fleet out. Find that ship. Vexcar's yellow eyes narrowed. Commander Thel claims it was the Dockavi. I want confirmation. The name sent a ripple of unease through the bridge crew. Even after 50 years, the Selnar Military Academy still taught about the human warship that had stopped their invasion. It was required learning, a lesson in humility for the otherwise unstoppable Selnar forces. Admiral, his second-in-command said carefully, if it truly is the Dockavi, then we will destroy it once and for all, Vexcar hissed, and remove this human myth from our history. Through the neural link, Captain Hyun could feel the Dockavi responding to his thoughts. The massive warship moved with surprising grace through the debris field, its advanced sensors tracking the Selnar fleet. They've split into 3 search groups, Minna reported through the link. Her thoughts carried tactical analyses that would have taken minutes to explain verbally. Hyun could see the Selnar ships through the Dockavi sensors. 2 light cruisers moved to the left flank. 3 destroyers covered the center. The heavy cruiser and another destroyer protected the disabled scout ship. Their formation has gaps, Hejun observed, his security training highlighting vulnerabilities. If we strike here, his thought showed a point between the groups. No, Hyun decided, we don't want a fair fight. We hit them one group at a time. Iris's presence flowed through their linked minds. The Dockavi's main gravitational cannon is at 89% power. Secondary weapons are fully operational. Which group shall we target first? Hyun considered their options. The destroyers in the center. Once they're dealt with, the fleet will be cut in half. Through the link, he felt his crew's agreement. The plan formed in their shared consciousness, refined by each person's expertise. Park calculated power distribution. Minna prepared targeting solutions. Hejun monitored the enemy's movements. They haven't detected us yet, Park noted. The stealth systems are working perfectly. Hyun gave the command, move us into position. The Dockavi glided silently through space, approaching the 3 Selnar destroyers from behind. At Hyun's mental command, weapon ports opened along the massive ship's hull. We are in optimal firing range, Iris announced. Fire. The 3 Selnar destroyers had no warning. One moment, they were scanning the debris field. The next, precision energy beams lanced out from seemingly empty space, striking each ship's engine section. On the bridge of Destroyer Vengeance, Captain Malk watched in horror as his ship's power failed. 2 more beams struck their weapon systems, leaving them defenseless. Emergency power, he shouted. Get weapons back online. His tactical officer looked up, face pale. Sir, sensors are detecting a massive ship decloaking directly behind us. The view screen showed a nightmare made real. The Dockavi materialized from the darkness of space, its kilometer-long hull dwarfing their destroyer. Send a warning to the fleet, Malk ordered. Tell them. He never finished the sentence. A final burst of energy from the Dockavi overloaded their communications array, cutting them off from the rest of the fleet. 3 destroyers disabled. Minna reported, satisfaction flowing through the neural link. No structural damage. Their crews are intact, but helpless. Hyun nodded mentally. Move to the next target before they realize what's happening. The Dockavi's engines flared, propelling the massive ship toward the 2 light cruisers on the left flank. This time, there would be no element of surprise. The Selnar had detected the attack on the destroyers and were already moving to battle positions. Incoming fire, Hejun warned. Multiple missiles approaching. Point defense systems engaging, Iris responded. Through the neural link, Hyun could feel the Dockavi's defensive systems activating. Hundreds of small energy pulses shot out, intercepting the incoming missiles with perfect precision. Not a single one reached the hull. Their weapons are ineffective, Park observed. The Dockavi's defenses are far more advanced than current Selnar technology. Minna's thoughts carried growing confidence. Targeting solutions ready for the light cruisers. Shall I disable them as well? No, Hyun decided. This time, show them our main weapon. They need to understand what they're facing. Through the link, Iris guided their thoughts to the Dokebi's primary weapon, the gravitational pulse cannon. Unlike conventional weapons, it didn't fire energy or projectiles. Instead, it created a localized distortion in space itself, generating crushing gravitational forces at the target point. Main cannon charged at 100%. Iris confirmed. Target locked on lead cruiser. Fire. On the flagship Claw of Dominion, Admiral Vexkar received reports of the destroyer group's silence. "What do you mean, you lost contact?" he demanded. Before his officer could answer, new alarms sounded. "Admiral, the light cruiser Fang of Victory is under attack." The tactical display showed the impossible. A massive ship had appeared behind their destroyers and was now engaging their cruisers. Its size and configuration matched only one vessel in their records. "The Dokebi," Vexkar whispered. They watched in stunned silence as a strange distortion appeared in space near the lead cruiser. The distortion grew rapidly, creating a swirling vortex of energy. The cruiser was caught in its pull, the ship's hull buckling under forces it was never designed to withstand. Within seconds, the once proud warship collapsed in on itself, crushed by artificial gravity. The second cruiser immediately turned to flee. "Order all ships to converge on the Dokebi," Vexkar commanded, his voice steady despite his fear. "Focus all firepower on that monster." Through the neural link, Hyun felt the shift in the Selnar fleet. The remaining ships were converging on their position, including the flagship. "They're coordinating their attack," Hejun warned. 5 ships, approaching from multiple vectors. Minna's thoughts carried concern. "The gravitational cannon needs time to recharge. We'll have to rely on secondary weapons." Hyun considered their options. In normal space combat, being surrounded was a death sentence. But the Dokebi wasn't a normal ship. "Iris, what is the status of the FTL drive?" "Micro-jump capabilities are online," the AI responded. "Standard protocols recommend against jumping in a debris field, but the Dokebi's navigation systems can compensate." A plan formed in Hyun's mind, quickly understood by his crew through the neural link. It was risky, but it could work. "Prepare for sequential micro-jumps," he ordered. "We'll hit them one by one." Admiral Vexkar watched his tactical display with growing unease. His remaining ships had surrounded the Dokebi, all weapons locked on the human vessel. "Fire on my mark," he commanded. 3, 2. The Dokebi vanished. "What?" Vexkar slammed his fist on the console. "Where did it go?" "FTL jump detected," his sensor officer reported. "Sir, it's..." A flash appeared on the display as the Dokebi materialized directly behind one of their destroyers. Before the Selnar ship could react, precision weapons fire disabled its engines and weapons. Then the human warship vanished again. Seconds later, it reappeared beside another destroyer, crippling it with a series of rapid strikes before jumping away. Vexkar watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. The Dokebi was using short-range FTL jumps to appear without warning, strike with devastating accuracy, and disappear before they could respond. "Impossible," he whispered. "No ship can make jumps with such precision." Within minutes, only the Claw of Dominion remained operational. The rest of his fleet drifted helplessly, disabled but intact, a clear message that the humans could have destroyed them if they wished. On the Dokebi's bridge, Hyun and his crew were exhausted but triumphant. The neural link amplified their abilities but drained their energy. Still, they had one more task to complete. "The flagship is preparing to flee," Minna reported. "Not yet," Hyun decided. "We need to send a message back to that Selnar leadership." The Dokebi performed its final jump, appearing directly in front of the Claw of Dominion. The two ships faced each other, the massive human warship dwarfing even the Selnar flagship. Through the neural link, Hyun opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Hyun Todwan of the GSV Dokebi. Your fleet has been defeated. Return to your space and inform your leaders. Humanity is not defenseless. Any further aggression will be met with the full power of the ship. This is your only warning." Admiral Vexkar stared at the human captain on his view screen. Behind the human, he could see the bridge of the legendary vessel that had once again shattered Selnar ambitions. Pride demanded he fight to the death. Duty required he survive to warn his people. "This is not over, human," he replied. "That Selnar Empire does not surrender." "I'm not asking for surrender," the human captain said calmly. "I'm giving you a chance to prevent unnecessary deaths. Choose wisely." Vexkar hesitated, then nodded slowly. "We will withdraw. But remember this, Captain, that Selnar have long memories." "So do we," the human replied. "That's why the Dokavi has returned." 3 days later, Captain Hyun stood in Director Song's office on Seoul Orbital Station. His crew waited outside while he delivered his report. "That Selnar fleet has pulled back across all sectors," Director Song said, reviewing the latest intelligence. "For now, at least, the invasion has been called off." "They won't stay away forever," Hyun warned. "But now they know we can defend ourselves." Director Song studied him carefully. "And the Dokavi, what happens to it now?" "The ship is being moved to a secure location. Park is working with Iris to upgrade our current fleet with some of its technology." "And you, Captain, you found your grandfather's myth. You turned it into the monster that shattered an Armada. What comes next for you?" Hyun looked out the window at the stars beyond. The Dokavi wasn't meant to be hidden away or forgotten. It was built to protect humanity. That's what we'll do. As he spoke, far away in a classified location, the massive warship waited in the darkness of space. Its black hull absorbed the light of distant stars. Its systems hummed with ancient power. And deep within its core, Iris watched and waited, ready for the day when humanity would need its guardian again. The myth had returned. The monster had awakened. And the stars themselves would remember its name. Dokavi.